Hi, I want to talk to you today about storing milk long term. That's a big subject for a lot of people. I'm talking specifically about pressure canning milk. This stuff comes, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It goes in, it tastes almost the same when you get it out as it does when you can it. It keeps a long time. But we come to a lot of situations where we end up with more milk than we know what to do with for the moment. And so we decided to try canning some. Now, I'm talking about pressure canning. I'm not talking about water bath canning. The botulism is a big concern here, and they say that it has to be at a boiling temperature or above for, I believe it's 3 hours to kill the botulism stuff and all them little bugs in there. And that's just really hard to do that without burning the milk when you're trying to do a water bath canning. But with pressure canning, it is so easy, so simple, and regardless of what the USDA says, everybody I have talked to says that it's safe. They've never had a single problem with it. Now, I'm not telling you that you can go out and do it. USDA says it's not safe, so it's not safe. Okay. Now, that being said, I'm going to tell you how I pressure can milk. And even though it's not safe, I continue to do it. I make the decision to take the responsibility for myself. So I want to get to it here in a little bit. We got a couple of half gallons of milk that someone gave us that we don't have room in the fridge for. And so in just a minute, we're going to get back to you and I'll show you what we're doing. Okay, step number one. We got our milk here. Going to run through the tools that we're going to need right quickly. Now the first thing I did was had this milk in the fridge, so I pulled it out, waiting for it to come down to room temperature. While it's doing that, we got to assemble our tools. We've got a funnel here, canning funnel. Got our canning rings here. Got a little magnet tool for getting the lids out of the pan. Got our jar pickup tool, and we have our lids, our flats. You want to use new flats. You don't want that seal coming loose on a jar of milk, okay? Now I'm going to use just a regular pressure canner for this, ordinary pressure canner. I've got already in there about 2.5 inches of room temperature water. We're going to keep everything at room temperature here so that it's not shocking anything. We want to have the jars, the milk, and the water all pretty much the same temperature when we put it all together. Now over here, the first thing we got to do is we got to have clean, sanitized jars. So here we are. I'll pull these out of the dishwasher. The dishwasher gets hot enough to sanitize these. So we've had them in there, run them through. They've been hot enough to sterilize them. Okay, now the only thing that wants to be hot right now is the jar, the flats. So I'm going to get a fire going here. About a medium heat. Put some water on there, a little pan of water. Bring that up to boiling or almost boiling. And while that's coming up to boil, I've got my jars lined out here. Got a funnel there. Box is open. I'm going to pour these in. Just like anything else you can, you're going to have some headspace because that is going to expand as it heats in there. And I found the last time I did this that milk siphons very easily. So I like to leave a little bit of extra headspace. So we'll leave about 1 inch there. If you leave too much, you'll have trouble getting enough vacuum to seal it properly, or it may leave more air space for bacteria too. I'm not sure about that, but better safe than sorry. Okay. As you can see, we got 2 half gallons, but obviously we're not filling our quarts. Apparently a quart is only a quart measure when it's cleared all the way to the top. So we're going to have a little bit of milk left over, and that's okay. We'll use a little in our cooking or something. Now, the FDA says, and a lot of people say, that you definitely cannot can raw milk. As you can see, this is not raw milk, but the truth of the matter is, myself and other folks have successfully canned raw milk for years. And yes, the government guidelines say that you cannot can raw milk. So I'm not going to contradict that. I'm not going to advocate that you do it. But I do it. You need to make your own choice, okay? Now we've got these filled up to about 1 inch from the top. Okay, I have here a paper towel dampened with vinegar. Vinegar will cut any oil or any grease that might be left on there, milk fat. I'll clean that top really good. Now you want to make sure you don't touch the very top or the insides of the jars with your fingers, because you can transfer bacteria that way. So now we've got our flats. I'm going to drop them in the water over here, and we'll wait for that to heat up. We want to heat this because, number one, it kills bacteria, and number two, it softens up that rubber seal in there so that it'll get a better grip on your jars. So while that's heating up, I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we got our bubbling here, got our our lids bubbling. They've been bubbling for about 3 to 5 minutes now. Turned the fire down a bit, so it'll just kind of keep them simmering. And that's been going on long enough. So now we're going to grab one of them. Oh, I got two. There we go. I'm going to bring that over here and put it on a jar. We'll just do that with the rest of them. Number 2. You can feel when they're on there, there's like a little indentation there when they're in place properly. There we go. Uh-oh, my magnet came off. Had to go get my other magnet. Okay. There we go. Turn that burner off. And now we can put our rings on here. We just want them finger tight. That's going to expand, and as it expands, it has to blow out the extra pressure, extra air that's in there. So it has to have a little bit of looseness there for that to happen. So you want it down finger tight. That one doesn't feel right. There we go. One down finger tight. But you're not tightening in a spark plug. You're just getting that right like that. Now we're just going to set room temperature jars, room temperature milk, hot lids, room temperature water, and inside I did put the rack in the bottom so that the jars are not sitting directly on the bottom of the canner, because that could cause a big problem. They could actually explode because of just getting too hot. You can see about how much water is in there. It's coming up about halfway on the jars. It doesn't have to cover them completely or anything like that. It's just have to make sure there's plenty in there so that it can get all the steam it needs and not boil dry. Okay, so that's where we're going. I'm going to go ahead and light that. And for now, I'm going to put it on high. And we're going to come over here and get the lid ready. I got a bottle of olive oil. Spread that around the gasket. That's just so the gasket will slide instead of sticking on the. And this little safety valve, we want to make sure it's got a little olive oil on it, a little oil on it too. You can use soybean oil or, butter, whatever you got, any kind of lubricant, food-based lubricant. Don't put motor oil on it. Okay, that's ready to go on. Okay, that goes on. You can kind of see right here on the lid, if you think you can see it, it says close and open, that little V that goes to this side. And then once it's on there, you just rotate the lid so that it pulls that together. Same thing on both sides. I'm going to turn the canner around so I can see the gauge. Okay, there we go. We got the lid down tight. Got our safety valve here that'll pop off if it needs to. And we're going to let this heat up until we start seeing steam come out of this vent right here. And we're going to let that steam come out as a full jet for about 10 minutes. Okay? Then, after that, we'll put this weight on there. This is the regulator weight. And that will cause it to build up pressure. So for right now, I'm going to give you all a break while I wait for that to build up. Okay, 10 minutes is up. That baby's been shooting steam out of there for 10 minutes. So we're going to put that weight right on top of it, like that. So we got her there, covered the vent. Now, watch the gauge. And when it gets up to, I'm going to turn the fire down just a little bit. So I want to make sure all the contents get to that temperature together. So when that gets up to 11 psi, we're just going to turn it off and be done. Hey, we're back. It's been about 10 minutes longer waiting for this to get up to pressure. You can see right now it's up to 10 pounds. And we're going to wait till it gets up to that 11-pound mark. And then we're just going to shut it off. It's, like I say, it took about 10 minutes to get here. Better to take a little bit longer and make sure everything is even temperature than to rush it. If you leave it on high and just rush up there, then the water, the steam could get hotter than what the milk is, and you might not have your milk hot enough to actually kill all the bacteria and stuff. This way we're killing the bacteria. We got it in there long enough to really do some good. And there it is, 11 pounds. We're going to turn this burner off, and we're just going to not touch a thing until that gets clear back down to zero. When all the pressure's off, we'll open it up. We'll be back then. Okay, as you can see, our gauge is back to zero, so it's safe to remove that weight, and no steam coming out. Alrighty, this has been sitting for about an hour now after we took the weight off, and we can see the gauge is at zero. No steam coming out here. This little, I'm going to, with one hand, turn this to release it, like that. Now I'm going to grab a pot holder, and I'm just going to use this since I only have one hand to lift with. Be careful, you shouldn't really lift it by this gauge because it could break off. But I'm going to set that over out of the way, And there we go. 4 jars of milk, 4 quarts of milk, all canned up and ready for the shelf. And let them sit in there till they cool off some more. If I bring them out, they're still hot. The water around them is still hot. If I bring them out into the air too fast, they could crack. So I'm going to let them sit there until they cool down almost to room temperature, and then I'll set them out. When you pull them out, make sure that you use one of these jar lifters, just like that, and you'll be good to go. Thanks. See you on the next video. Be sure to click like and subscribe and watch some of my other stuff. Bye. God bless you.